All right, good morning and welcome everybody to your Healthy Self podcast. This is your host of the day, Cade Archibald, and really excited to be here with everybody. We have um, the founder, creator of this podcast, founder of Go Wellness, and founding member of Anodyne Pain and Wellness, Regan Archibald. Regan, how you doing?
Really good. Yeah, it's a great morning. We had some rain here in Salt Lake and Park City Midway put out the fire, which was threatening Summit Park and Pine Brook. So yeah, that was exciting. It's been great. Have you guys got it down there in St. George yet?
So last night at like 12:30, the biggest like thunder boom, like just this huge boom, woke me up, and then I just heard buckets. So it rained really good last night for just it wasn't very long, but it rained really good, and then smells like fresh rain this morning.
Yeah, that's the
Good to
best.
good to get some moisture here in St. George. We've had, I would say, our monsoons have been way better this year than the last 2 years. I remember July, August being pretty dry. So it's been
Hmm.
awesome to get some good moisture.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, yeah, a lot of cool things we're going to cover today, but I guess we should do announcements and talk about the hack we did last night. That was fun.
Yeah, so we did our hack last night, focused on serotonin. So if you guys aren't a part of our Health Accelerator community, please make sure you get registered for that. Go to acueastwest.com/hack, HAC. You can get registered for that. It's every Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. Mountain Time. And we had, yeah, really cool hack, learned about serotonin, how that can relate to a lot of different things, and looking at food. So the challenge for this week is increasing foods that at least it's two foods that increase serotonin, right?
It's just getting out in the sun in the morning when the sun's coming up, or even being by your window and drinking your electrolyte water or some coffee or whatever you like to do in the morning, and then getting in the sun in the evening as the sun's going down. And it's kind of hard when it was raining last night. I was like, I can't see the sun at all. But,
Sun's not out.
but I was outside, walking the dogs in the rain. It was fun.
Nice. All right, so getting some sunshine. That was a swing and a miss there. Um, so it's all about getting some sunshine. And one other item of kind of pre-podcast business is our show is brought to you by the Smart Medicine today. So for all your supplement needs, go check out thesmartmedicine.com and yeah, grab some good supplements there. All right, well let's dive in. I know we've had a lot of questions recently on food and meal prep planning and kind of strategies around how to eat, how I can eat better. And so we're going to dive into some of those topics today, along with some different ways of enhancing the foods that we take with maybe some peptides and different supplements.
Yes, and then I'm going to talk about how food and exercise impacts the mitochondria. So it's all going to be bundled in this one concept, the singular concept of how can you supercharge your body and how can you make life easier and better and more efficient. Because Kate, I think you've learned this about me. I'm a two on a follow through when it comes to the Colby profile. And so whenever there's a bypass, when there's an easier way to do something, I go in that direction so that I can be more impactful on the back end. And so that's what today's going to be on, is how to bypass some systems that might not be working in your lifestyle when it comes to food. Does that sound cool?
I love that. Yeah, I think everyone likes a simpler process or system. It's just a matter of how fast they can implement it.
Yes. And so by the way, ask questions as you go through this, but how many of you struggle to get the right food in, and you're like, man, it's 7 at night, you're super hungry, and you realize, oh man, I don't have the right food in my fridge. I haven't, really thought things through. and then you end up not eating the way you intended on eating in the morning. Have you ever done that, Kate, or is it just me?
Oh, absolutely. That's happened plenty of times.
Plenty of time. Yeah. And so you got me into a Traeger a couple of years ago, which I love because I can just throw a ton of stuff on it. And I'm like, I started realizing this about a year ago. I said, if I'm cooking just like some chicken or steak for today's meal, why wouldn't I just throw on like double if we've got it? And then I can use it for lunch tomorrow and even dinner. And then I realized, like, why don't I just like cook a whole bunch so I can have enough for like 4 days, 3 or 4 days. And so, and you've been at my house when I've just like cooked up a slew of things, and Cade's a much better chef than I am. I just want to get the job done. And he's like, no, you got to let it, like, what do you call it? Like rest, and you got to like marinate it and all this stuff. I'm just like, just cook it and put salt on it. It's fine. I'm a little more of a caveman.
Yeah, if you the thing with smoking your meats, you can actually, if you just take them straight out of the freezer, you can let them rest for a minute, but and then I like to do some seasonings. I'll put like some oil so it sticks, because when they're frozen, it's harder to get anything to stick to it. But I love adding different flavors and seasonings. I'll let it cook like forever, 8 hours, like wake up at 6 a.m. just to make a nice brisket for the end of the day. It's like I don't know what it is about that process. It's just it's rewarding at the end of the day. Like you wake up early, get it all prepped, go get work done, whatever, and then you're checking on it somewhat regularly. I got the Wi-Fi Traeger now, so I know exactly the temperature that meat is, how what the temperature of the Traeger is. I can adjust that from wherever I'm at, and so it makes cooking a whole different experience with the Traeger. But it's fun. But yeah, I guess I was talking to, she's like a sponsored by Traeger, and she said the way to get the best flavor and the smokiness is starting your meat frozen. And
Is
I was
that
like,
right?
oh wow, I thought like you always wanted to have it like thawed out before you stuck it on there, and so that was a little nice little
Wow.
nugget to get.
That's a
Yeah, it
big
just
tip.
absorbs, it's able to absorb more smoke, because once your meat hits like 160, it's not going to absorb any of that like flavor.
Got it.
I don't know
Okay.
what that means from a nutrition perspective, but the flavor is super tasty.
Yeah, and one of the reasons we cook our meat, and you got to be careful on the sources, right? Because if you have an open flame on a grill, that can be carcinogenic. The smoker from a Traeger, it seems to cook it with heat that's pressurized a little bit, and so that creates yeah, I think it's a better tasting meat. It's got better flavor, but it also helps mitigate some of the free radical damage that you can get from meats.
Yeah,
And
it's not black. It doesn't get blackened.
mm-mm. No, it's really tasty. So that makes sense. So from a nutritional perspective, when you shock your food, like with a microwave, you can get some denaturing of the proteins that might not be as easy to absorb as a slower cooked meal. If you think of our digestive system, one of the reasons we cook meat is because we want to pre-digest it, because we have a very small digestive tract compared to our primate ancestors. If you're a gorilla or a chimpanzee, you're going to be chewing on food for 5 to 6 hours a day, just chewing. Whereas as a human, we're about an hour a day, depending on what your eating habits are. And if you're chewing gum, that doesn't count. But yeah, because we have a smaller digestive tract, so our bodies are designed so that we can really take up nutrients much quicker. And that's, one of the ways we evolved as humans was learning how to cook our meats. And so
That's fascinating. So you
yeah,
said a chimp or something along that nature, it's 6 hours a day they're just chewing, because they're able to get more nutrients out of their food, because otherwise they don't get enough.
they don't get enough because they are not cooking their food. They're not using
Oh,
fire.
yes.
I mean, there's some like baboons, I think, where they've learned to like start fires, but they're not, so this is people like, here's an evolutionary link. But I'm like, well, they're still not, they don't have a Traeger. Like they got a long ways to go to catch up. But
They got a minute.
yeah, I mean, we'll give them a job eventually, is what I say. So yeah, I mean, it's I think there's some real wisdom in looking at cooking your food properly, because that denaturing of the protein is what allows you to absorb these essential amino acids that build up your muscle mass. And your muscle mass, and we'll go through all the different stages of food and how to prep it, just so you guys know. But we started with meat. I did this intentionally because it's one of the most important sources of protein and fat that you're going to get in your diet. Actually, the most important thing you're going to eat in the day is the meats. And so, yeah, how you cook it. If you want a better flavor, talk to Cade. If you just want the job done, talk to Regan. But actually, the frozen thing that's really cool, because it takes longer for the meat to actually cook. So therefore, I would argue that it's a little better at the protein degradation. So that's awesome.
Yeah, because with us, so Reagan and I, we have an uncle that owns a cattle ranch, as well as we have a lot of local farms. So we'll buy like half or a full cow, and then stick a lot of those good steaks and good cuts in the freezer, and then it's so easy to just go throw a frozen piece of meat on the Traeger, let it, you just add an extra hour. You just have to be early at putting it on, because at 7 o'clock you're scrambling to find some food.
Yeah.
The Traeger is out of the question, and that's usually where I get hosed. I'm like, oh, I want to cook something on the Traeger. I won't be able to eat till like midnight, so that's probably not going to work for me today.
Yeah. Well, that's why I usually have
Plan.
one setting all the way up, and it gets the job done.
Well, yeah, and I like you have a process where you'll just cook like everything beginning of the week or over the weekend, and then you can meal prep it way easier, which that I love that concept too. That works really nice.
Yeah, so let's talk about that in your meal prep. So for those of you who are like, man, it's so hard for me to plan out my day. And I was just having a conversation with a few of you this week, and as I look at healthcare, I'm like, man, my job is to simplify. I want to make it easy for patients to get really healthy. And medicine today is all about complexity. The more complex it is, the more your doctor can tell you what you need to do for your health, or the government, which that's not a political statement, in case we have to shut down the show because we said that, but but there's a real easy way that you can do this, and that's just by simply looking at the priorities. So Cade, is it just as easy to eat a cold piece of chicken as it is to open a protein bar?
Yeah.
I mean, I realized that about a year ago. I said, man, I'm going to stop eating protein bars, because there's healthy ingredients, but it's still processed, right?
Yeah.
And so, but I was like just justifying it. I'm like, I'm so busy, I don't have time to stop for lunch, but I want to make sure I'm getting the nutrients in. And I was trying to put on my muscle mass, and that was over a year ago now. And then about August, it was June through August, I was like, I'm consuming like 2 protein bars, sometimes 3 protein bars a day. I realized, like, this is not good, this is not healthy. And so I started realizing, maybe if I just cook meat and then I just bring it to work, I could eat that just as fast as I could eat a protein bar. Don't even have to warm it up. I can just eat it cold, which my wife is like gags when I'm like, this is just food for energy. It's not food for entertainment. So you've got to differentiate the two, right?
Yeah.
And so I think of my morning meal, like my morning coffee is entertainment, but it's also nutrients. So I feel like it's a double whammy. I love the way it tastes. It's like the favorite part of my day. But my breakfast, if I eat breakfast, or my lunch, usually I do kind of a brunch. That's just food for energy. I just want to refuel my cells and really just get going on with my day. But I don't want the brain fog. I don't want the blood sugar drops. I want to have some real robustness and bring some energy to whatever I'm doing. And so that's where this whole concept came into play. And so it's very simple. I mean, you just figure out, well, how large is your family? I got 2 teenage boys, and actually Dom and Jonah can eat probably more than I can these days. They're finally hit their stride they're 15. So my boys are tanks. So now our meat budget just went up quite a bit, you know, like, oh, well, but they're eating healthy stuff, right? Because otherwise they're like stopping at the gas station and I'm seeing their transactions. I'm like, no, that's not acceptable. No 7-Eleven food here. So, but all you got to do is figure out, okay, how much meat do you need? And I try to get enough to last through Wednesday or Thursday. But usually just Wednesday. So I'll do Sunday night. We'll have a, really fun family meal and we'll start cooking and then we'll store a bunch for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday. So this evening we'll do it again for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But Thursday is usually just Friday, Saturday. We'll go out to eat usually on, one night a week. And so that's typically on a Friday night or a Saturday night. So it's actually super simple. So as long as I can make my way through Thursday, I've won the game. But if I don't do that, here's the risk is then I'm stuck in this quandary where I'm, busy in my day. I'm like, I'm going out the door. I got to get my lunch ready. And then I'm like, oh, I don't have anything. So guess what my default is? Protein bars, right?
Yeah, protein bar or... I think the other thing I do is I'll do like the shakes. So at my desk, I got Stem Boost, and this is actually the pure paleo. It's bone broth protein, which I think Smart Medicine's gonna start adding that to their line. But those are some things that's what I end up doing. I don't have many protein bar options that I've never been a fan of them.
Yeah. And I'm not either, but I am a fan of getting some good nutrients in. And so like the Bulletproof collagen bars are one of my favorites. They've got the MCT oil they're pretty darn good, but most of them have fillers. They're crappy. So you got to be careful with that. Ann has some good ideas. Yeah. For meal prep. Plan it out, sit down, plan what you want to eat, recipes, and create grocery ingredients list. And so Reagan's list is plan out the one thing, at least get meat in. And so if you do that, then you're like, in my opinion, you're about 80% there, because then I can grab a bunch of salad. I bring the whole thing of arugula. You probably see me and when I'm driving, I'll just eat the whole thing plain. If you don't mind it, it's an easy way to get your vegetables in.
Yeah. The other thing, if you're like, that's a gag worthy, because I'm the same way. One thing I like to do is I'll just like put some olive oil on it and then I stuff it in. The problem is it gets on my beard. So if you ever see my beard's really shiny, it's probably olive oil.
Nice.
But the other way is you could just like grab like a little some kind of oil-based dressing. If you're like, I cannot eat vegetable, like I can't eat greens without a little bit of flavor.
Sure.
Or like some lemon juice with some oil. Those are all really, really helpful. But yeah, that's, I think, and for those that are like really good planners, myself, my plan, I have to do what Reagan does is I have to figure out very simple strategy and like just execute it. If I tried to sit down and make a meal plan, Sierra and I have tried to do that before, it ends in like chaos. It's like, oh, we're gonna do all this stuff, and then the execution on that is always a challenge because you go to the store and you get distracted. You see there's Skittles, you see there's rainbow. Like, no, I haven't had Skittles for quite some time, but just there's so many distractions. So if you can have some really good tactics around it, but yeah, having a list of, okay, these are the items that we're going to focus on and get is so important.
Yeah. And where you source your meat, we'll go back to this. And so where you source your meat is actually the most critical, because meat is going to be, if you're getting a good cut of meat, you don't want to get like just the lean protein. You want to have meat that's got about 50% of the calories from fat and 50% from protein. So remember, fat calories for every 1 gram of fat, you've got about 9 calories. And then for every gram of protein, you got about 5 calories, something like
That's
that.
right. Somewhere around there.
So it's almost twice as much with fat, but make sure and that you're getting it from a great source, because you will be eating the fat. And that's a really good source of fat if you're getting it properly. I love avocados. I love coconut. Great sources of fat. Butter is one of my favorites. You guys have heard us talk about all these great sources, but plan that out. But if you have your meat cooked already, you cook it up front. That's an easy way to help build things around it. And so, I love what. Go ahead.
Then you're just adding it. So if you have the meat, because that's kind of the staple, and it's usually takes the most preparation and the most time. So if you're like stuck in a bind, so you plan. So Reagan, I think you do an amazing job at this. Is you plan over the weekend, or whenever you're cooking all those meats, so you have your supply, and then you just you have some of the greens. I love sliced up cucumbers. Those are a really good simple snack.
Yeah.
Takes a little bit more time, but it's still easy enough.
So easy. Yeah. Cut a bunch of vegetables. We're in the farmer co-op, and it's so nice because every week we get this massive bunch of vegetables. It's from,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's the Shaley, I believe is his name, but Chef Hillary turned me onto this farm. And so it's really nice because then you have a bunch of vegetables, and if you've got them all cooked, like your cruciferous vegetables, it's really easy to take those out, put it in a glass container with your meat, and then you're on the go. And so Ann says, number one, sit down, plan what you want to eat. Yes. If you are somebody who loves to have good flavors in your food for every meal of the day, that's going to be really important. I'm trying to give you guys, for the dudes out there, I'm giving you guys a little bit of like, here's the low maintenance bypass. Just plan on your meats first, and then have a bunch of vegetables. And then in the morning, you just have, all you got to do is pull it out of the fridge. It takes 2 minutes to stack it up. So, but yes, I would much prefer when my wife does it. The meals are great. I mean, we had a whole streak where we had every meal planned out. It was already in the containers. It was so nice just pulling those out and going. She says, number two, plan when you want to go to the store and place orders so you have things on time. It's a great thing. And I think even purchasing your meat up front, like Cade and I have done with cows, or if we use Ballerina Farm here locally in Camas, and they have amazing meats. The bacon from Ballerina Farms, because their pigs are just free range and they're happiest pigs on the planet. There's a difference in the way that meat smells. So you want to smell your meat before you cook it. You want to really just make sure it comes from an organic, free range source, no commercial raised meats. And we've talked about this so much, I don't want to beat a dead horse. That sounds bad when we're talking about meat. Sorry, guys. Bad analogy. But yeah, if you get things on time, and I mean, there's delivery services now, right, Cade? I mean, makes it pretty easy.
Yeah, like you can have it delivered. I think that's the one thing, one really good positive with COVID has been, I think almost every grocery store has delivery options. They at least have pickup. So you don't even have to go in and get distracted by the Skittles and the bubble gum. You just pull into the drive up and text the number, and someone comes out with your groceries. And I know like Harmon's does it. I think it's like $3.99 for that.
Oh, and so if you're Cade, you just saved like $200, right?
Yeah, well, that's like 3 packs of Skittles right there. I don't know how much Skittles are, but
it is.
I really don't eat Skittles really ever. I just used to like it as an analogy. In high school, I love Skittles.
I think what you're saying though, Cade, is that you're going to save money if you just don't even step foot into the stores, because they're marketing to you guys. I don't know if you've ever got to the cash register and all of a sudden it's like those travel magazines. I'm such a travel bug. I got the travel bug like crazy. I don't know where I got it from, but I see those travel magazines, and then I got another $12 on my bill, especially if you're at whole paycheck, then the whole paycheck plus some happens with their marketing.
Yeah, why do you think it's called whole paycheck? It's not It's all the whole experience. Yeah,
There we go.
and you see the coffee shop. Oh, I think I need a coffee now.
Yeah, just it keeps adding on. So be careful. So preparation, not only is it a better way to live because you could spend your money on things you want in the future, or invest it wisely, or invest it in your health. And then you're not focused on, you just get what you want and get what you need. And then you don't have to focus on all those external things that come with the store. So, but I like grocery stores occasionally. So, all right. Number 3, Ann says, prepare prep. So you can do this all in one afternoon for the week. You can store in the fridge, freezer. You can do this once every few days. Yeah, cook once, eat 2 to 3 times, spread it out. And I love that. That's one of the things, the concepts, especially with vegetables, you can freeze them and then you can thaw them out. They're great. So it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And mentioned, and you're sending out amazing comments. Thank you. So the air fryer, where was that? Yeah, you just you just fell in love with air fryers, which I'm like mind blown by what you can do with air fryers. Brussels sprouts in air fryer. Oh my gosh, like
Yeah, that's so
so
good.
And it takes like 5 to 8 minutes.
Just a little noisy when you start them up. So if you're having conversations, put it somewhere else in your kitchen.
Yeah, try to put it elsewhere. Don't put a towel over it. It might start a fire. I actually I do that with the coffee grinder in the morning. If I gotta grind up beans, I like throw a little towel over it and try to huddle up so I don't wake up the kids. But yeah, that would be a little dangerous with the air fryer. But Brussels sprouts probably one of my favorites in the air fryer. And then chicken is super good in the air fryer.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, and then I like to adding a fun meal, easy meal to try for dinner during the week. Keeps things interesting so you don't get bored. Yeah, I mean that's a really great thing. Yeah, and Ruth's asking, okay, which air fryer do you recommend? We have 3 air fryers, Cade. And yeah, those things are amazing. Like for vegetables, especially the Brussels. I agree. The Brussels sprouts are amazing. You can do cauliflower the same way, broccoli the same way. It's such a great component to have in your arsenal there. So
I'll look up what we have. I believe like we didn't spend over like 30 or 50 bucks on it.
No,
you can find them on Amazon. There's you can spend a lot of money on them, but I haven't found it to be necessary. Like there's one I just Google searched one, and you can find like Target has one for $44.99, and it's all digitized and everything. It's like looks awesome, but I wouldn't spend over like 50 bucks on it.
no, they're really pretty amazing.
So the ones, yeah, if they have plastic internally, don't use those. But yeah, the external is plastic, but the internal innards all have it's all metal.
Yeah. All right. So why the food? I mean, so now that you realize, okay, so you got your great source of meat, and hunting season's coming up. So make sure, if you guys really want to do this by the book, either take some OFAL, capsules, so liver capsules. I just bought some chicken liver that I get to cook up tonight in our Thursday prep. But try to get some type of.
While we're on the topic.
Oh, there's the air fryer.
I just found this one. I didn't even know the dual existed, but there's a Ninja that does, like, it's got 2 options. So that's awesome. Don't necessarily do breaded chicken strips and French fries. Don't do that with it. Put like Brussels sprouts, and Anne mentioned the like gluten-free breaded chicken. That's an option. Or just like you can just cut up chicken and have some. Usually it's going to be better if it's a little bit pre-cooked. It'll cook a lot faster. But anyways.
And they've upped their game. We got into air fryers a couple years ago, maybe 3 years ago, and now they've got all these trays. And
there's a
Yeah.
3-tray one. What? That's awesome.
You
And
just got one up, kid. There's 3 trays. I didn't even know there was more than one.
I
So
know we're learning stuff. You guys are teaching us stuff. So thank
as
you.
we go. So it's pretty exciting. I mean, if you think of the possibilities just by planning in advance, knowing, there's some great cooking options out there now that don't require like you slaving over the stove. It's just never been easier to eat healthy. And this is where it's confusing why we have such an epidemic. Why are we not more robust in our health while the chronic diseases? And I really think it comes down to one thing, and it's priorities, right? Because we get distracted and we put other things ahead of our health, and maybe that's, well, I work, and I got to do my work, and I got patients, would be my excuse, or I've got kid functions, and that's another one of my excuses. And so, there's all these things that we do, but with a little preparation, which is how you make your health your number one priority, when you enter into your life and you have the nutrients you need, now you can really pack some heat. You can really start making an impact. And so all it is planning. I think it was Abraham Lincoln who said, if I had 8 hours to cut down a tree, I'd spend the first 5 hours sharpening the axe. And so the crazy thing about food is you actually don't even need the 5 hours. All you need is like 5 minutes of planning. What do we want to eat? Just like Ann said, sit down, write it out. And then you say, okay, let's start cooking. That may take an hour if you're doing vegetables too, which is pretty darn simple. The meat doesn't take, well, if you're Cade, it's an 8-hour process, but he enjoys it. If you're Regan, it's 30 minutes and it's done. So yeah, it's just some simple tools here.
Yeah. Well, and part of that 8-hour process is I just wake up in the morning. It's like a ritual. It's kind of like making your coffee in the morning, but it's like slathering the meat and all this goodness, and then stick it on the Traeger, put a thermometer in there, and then I just like set it, forget it, and then a couple hours later I'll check on it. So it's not like I'm slaving away. It's like 10, 15 minutes prep. Yeah.
And some people really enjoy cooking, and I think, Cade, you would not like to be over a frying pan all day, but you would like to be managing you just imagining it's like Christmas for you when that little thing comes out. It's like opening a gift from Santa. And so you get just like thinking about it all day. The anticipation is probably just as good as the eating process, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's like it's a whole buildup, and then you get to cut it open, and it just like your knife just like it cuts it like butter. It's all tender. You taste it. You share it with everyone. My favorite part's like sharing, because then everyone's like, "Oh, this is so good," and it's just a nice ego stroke.
It really is. So yeah, and I know for many of you, we put you on these crazy diets. I just finished I'm on week 4 of this interesting experiment I've been doing, and I love it. And I know we give you guys all these different dietary recommendations, like our anti-inflammatory protocol and the SIBO protocol, or whatever we're working on, if we're trying to get some type of pathogen out of your body. So if you can just prepare, it makes it so much easier. And that's really the, what we're getting at. And I love how Ann says, I'm a lazy cook. I want minimal time and effort. And I eat veggies, proteins, and fat every dinner. I also don't have a dishwasher. So yeah, dishes get interesting, but I cook and my partner helps me clean. Good. You got to get Greg on that. So I've got a Dan Sullivanism that will help. And I think you're going to like this one. And I think this one goes along, as I was preparing for this today, I was like, this is perfect for what we're talking about. So Dan Sullivan says this is his laws of lifetime growth. And he says, always make your enjoyment greater than your effort. And so when you have enjoyment in what you're doing, it creates more energy, more creativity, more motivation. And he says creativity in all fields of activity is intimately linked to playfulness, the constant desire to do new things just for the fun of it. Approach everything you do with this sense of play, and you will ensure that even though you still get as good or better results, your enjoyment is always greater than your effort. So there's your little Dan Sullivanism for today. What do you think of that, kid? And how it relates to food?
Love that. Yeah, I think it's yeah, I dig it.
Yeah. Yeah. And because this is where people are sharing, we love the Traeger. That's for us. That's kind of a big thing. I've worked with the air fryer. It's fun. The end product is amazing. I just want to put it, like, I'll put it outside when I'm running it. It drives my wife crazy. I can't check it. And we don't, but yes.
It is no, like it's obnoxious. It's like a really loud fan. So like if you're trying to have any conversation, it's like, huh?
Yeah. If you're an auditory learner like me, then kind of gets in the way of really hearing what someone's saying, or maybe I'm just partially deaf from all the hammering as a kid. I don't know, probably both. But if you can make your enjoyment greater than your effort when it comes to food prep, then it's not this grind. It's not like, oh, I got to plan for food, or, when I talk to some of you, it's almost like it's this sacrifice that you're making to eat healthy. And that's the last thing you want to look at your food, as if it's a sacrifice to try to prepare your food in a great way.
No, and I think you bring up a really good point, because like a lot of our patients that come in for the first time, and we're talking about making some lifestyle changes and talking about our programs and kind of what's entailed. That seems to be the biggest like fear, or the biggest concern is like, well, especially guys, we're the worst. Is like, well, I don't want to change how I'm eating. I don't want to eat your tofu or whatever they're thinking we're going to tell them to eat, which don't eat tofu, please. That's it's not going to be super helpful. Um, but I think, if you can change the mindset of the way you look at it, and make it fun, make it, get creative with it, find little hacks. I I remember when I was like a really young kid, I used to love and I'm not saying this is a health food, but I'm just saying how I made it like creative is I love making nachos. And the one thing that had to happen is every chip had to have cheese on it. If it didn't, I didn't do a good job. And so I like had this whole design of how I'd pattern the nachos, make sure cheese was on it. And it was fun. And then I'd like pretend like I was a restaurant. I don't know. Like I just went back there for a minute and had a nice little rendezvous with myself, and back like 20 years ago.
Is Nacho
Like,
Master.
yeah, it can be your therapy time. Thank you,
Totally.
Judy. It's,
That's Yeah.
yeah.
I know my wife has some significant things she's processing when I come home, and she's got like 8 loaves of bread that she's been working on. I'm like, oh man, what did I do this time? I'm
You're in trouble when there's
going
eight
back.
loaves
I'm
of
like, did
bread.
I forget to take the garbages out? Did I leave the closet a mess? I mean, I'm like, no, and most of the time it's not about me. She's just, other things, but I'm just, you got to do some inventory real quick. So yeah. And my wife is a phenomenal cook, and her
She
bread's
is
addictive.
amazing.
I've been on a bread fast for almost a month because I was just overdoing it. And I instantly lost an inch in my belt size. So
Nice.
it's healthy
My
bread.
problem when I visit your house, I gain an inch.
Yeah, I mean, it's so good. And it's sourdough, it's kamut, it's all this like perfect ingredients, but you can still, you can get carried away. But let's talk about some of the science behind eating. Is that all right if we just kind of, I think everyone's got the mindset around this now, but I
Yeah.
really wanted to drive in this whole point about food being an energy source. And I hope everyone gleaned some good wisdom out of this. The whole point of this is just figure out a day where you can cook more food than you're going to eat. And then you have all this healthy, nutritious food to go off of. You'll save money, you'll save time, you'll enjoy the process, make it a fun thing, put on some good music. If your gut health allows you to sip on a little bit of Italian wine, it's a great time to do that, and just make it a ritual. So I think we covered it, and there's all the details that we have in our Kajabi courses, and all the way you can, the certain types of vegetables that you want to be eating, and how to get resistant starch from your rice or your oats or whatever you're cooking. So these are great things, but let's jump into why. So Judy asked, Utah wine. We don't have the best wine here, Judy, but
There is a vineyard in Dameron Valley that I was really impressed with. They actually do wine tastings up there. So that's
Hmm,
just in between St. George and like Vail or Pine Valley. It's on the
hmm.
way up Highway 18,
I didn't know that.
way up to
Fun.
Pine Valley. Just barely open. I don't even know if it's open to the public yet, but yeah,
Yeah.
Sierra came home with a bunch of bottles, and yeah, there's some really good stuff.
Good. Awesome. So let's talk about the energy. So food is that energy source. And one of the gifts that we have is we can cook our food, and then that cooking the food allows us to absorb more of the nutrients. In most cases, there's certain foods like sprouted foods that have all the enzymes that you can absorb it better. And so, I'm just giving you a general statement here, but one of the things that we're looking at is the mitochondria of our cells. This is what produces ATP. And for those of you who, remember high school biology, ATP is our energy source. And so all these cool nutrients get passed along our electron transport chain. And this is where hydration becomes your number one thing. So, we talk about all the food prep, but one of the things we also want to talk about is hydration prep, because in order to get that ATP production, you need good sources of electrolytes and hydration. Our bodies are like an ocean. We're 70% water. And so one of the things that you want to look at is, what are you doing to prepare yourself to have water? So I'm always carrying around one of these bad boys. So, it's about 26 ounces of water. I'm consuming maybe 5 of those a day, depending on how much I exercise. And so making sure that you've got water, and then you want to be putting electrolytes in your water as well. And we've had lots of conversations about this, especially in our hacks that you guys can get into. But I like the pickleball juice cocktail. That's been my favorite because it's got the real Redmond salt straight out of Utah. It's got the chloride, the sodium, the potassium. Everything's made right here in Utah. So, Cade, were you going to share something with us?
Oh, so the one thing that I've found so this is one of the electrolytes that I'll have. There's a ton of different options out there. The problem is you got to make sure you look at the sugar contents
Yeah. Yep.
with your electrolytes.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. And even those noons, you're going to get a gram of sugar. You're like, oh, that's not bad. But first thing in the morning, you do not want to have that gram of sugar in your body when your cortisol's up. So yeah, Judy's like, pickleball. I know it's a weird name. Yeah, I'll have to go find it, but it's pickleball juice cocktail. It's got a dude playing pickleball.
Yeah, it's their marketing is like it will improve your pickleball game, but it's simple electrolytes. When you first said it, I was like, pickle juice, like
It's not pickle juice. Yeah, it's pickleball, and
yeah.
it's just
It
it's
it
weird.
has a
It's
good
just some marketing.
taste.
What's
Yeah,
that?
it has a good taste. It's not like it's gross or anything.
Really good taste. So
It's just tastes like a vitamin C drink, or like kind of citrus, or orange citrus, something
yep.
like that.
No
That's
sugar in there at all. So it's a great one. So if you're thinking about, okay, now we're going to drive energy in the body, and that's really the source of this, because if you get down to life, it's not about time management, it's about energy management, because you can accomplish a whole lot in a little bit of time. If you just look at Parkinson's law, work expands based on the time you give yourself to complete the task. And then as you compress the task, the work and your productivity increases. So your mitochondria, that's the powerhouse of the cell. 90 to 95% of your energy comes from these little mitochondria critters. And this ATP, one of the things that starts to happen as we age is our mitochondria, they lose their flexibility, they lose their pliability. And so you don't have the same energy production. How many of you have noticed as you've aged, your energy levels have started to drop? And so this is, in large part due to the fact that your mitochondria are not getting the nutrients and they're not getting the hydration that we need. And so there's a couple different things you can do. So one is where, for those of you who are like, man, my energy's been dragging for years, well, this is a great time to consider getting on peptides. And that's one of the experiments that I'm on right now, is I'm doing a mitochondrial upgrade. We just had our mitochondria summit 2 weeks ago for Go Wellness. It was just awesome. We learned about the mitochondrial Eve. Do you remember that part, Cade?
mitochondrial Eve.
So just like, Adam and Eve, there's a mitochondria that's been isolated because mitochondria evolved from bacteria. So the bacteria, they realize, okay, we're a separate species, but we need an organism or a host to live with. And that's, the humans, we have more bacterial genetic material than we do human genetic material, which is kind of weird when you think about it. But they also realize the way that we can communicate directly with the host is through mitochondria in the cells of the host. And so they actually have found that, and it's called quorum sensing. Quorum sensing is the way that the bacteria communicate to the mitochondria in the cell. So I know we're getting deep, and I don't mean to go on a rabbit hole, but they've actually discovered this evolved mitochondria, and they call it the mitochondrial Eve. And they've named it, and they've been able to find the specific bacteria that it's connected to. And we've learned that there's mitochondrial crosstalk. There's what's called your cellular defense reaction, your CDR response, which is actually when your mitochondria are responding to threats long before there's an actual threat. So before the mitochondrial summit, I was doing so much research on it. I said, I want to upgrade my mitochondria. And the two things I learned that and the reason we're doing this podcast is because step one is you've got to upgrade your mitochondria through hydration, because you do need all those electrolytes are so key. It's just like having electricity that's connected to a positive and negative charge. And then the second thing you need is the right food, and especially the right protein and fats. And that fatty oxidation that happens in the mitochondria, that actually yields about 1,600 times more energy by using fat as a fuel source. Your mitochondria make 1,600 times more energy from fatty acids than they do from any other substance. So if you really want your mitochondria to be like just this energy producing machine, this is where, getting more on that fat adapted diet, where we recommend like keeping your carbohydrates, closer from like, the 50 to 80 range. And then the rest of your caloric intake from healthy fats and proteins is going to be massive. No more than 40% of your calories from proteins. Otherwise, the proteins go into gluconeogenesis and get converted into sugar. But man, the mitochondria love the fat. I don't know if you knew that, Cade, but pretty interesting, huh?
Yeah, that's really interesting. I knew that was a factor. I didn't realize how impactful 1,600 times more efficient than like sugar or carb fuel source.
Yep. Exactly. And so that's like, all right. So I think it probably, and this is one reason we started out the show. We said, hey, the best thing to prep for is get healthy meats with good sources of fat and good protein. And if you're eating out or you don't know where your meat source came from, get some activated charcoal and glutathione. That will help you detoxify. Some of the conventional meats, if you don't want to be rude at someone's house or whatever, but yeah, these are great things. So one of the experiments I've been doing is the MOD-SC. So I'm on a 12-week cycle, doing it every day. I've missed a couple days here and there, but every day on the MOD-SC. And the MOD-SC is a mitochondrial derived peptide that actually it's a gene that we all naturally express. And this gene expression is found in the blue zone. So you go to Japan, and especially in those blue zones in certain parts of Japan, they found that this phenotype is more expressed in these Japanese people who are the centarians or super centarians. So yeah, it's a phenomenal thing. And so if you can really prime it, and one of the things that we look at are the studies. There's studies on MOD-SC that shows it helps with that fat oxidation, helps with lipolysis, which is what it's called, where your body actually starts converting fat into energy. It prevents lipogenesis, which is the accumulation of fat, and then it stabilizes blood sugar. So MOD-SC has been one of the most powerful peptides we've used with our patients who have blood sugar dysregulation. And so, when we're talking about the upgrade, it's like, well, food is a great way to do that. But there's also ways you can turn on these genetic expressions, which is, once again, Cade, I mentioned in the beginning, I love bypasses. I love to simplify the process. Mitochondria also is upgraded through exercise, and that's the other big one. So you got hydration, you got food, you got peptides, and then you got hydration. So So yeah, all very interesting things. And you've done Modest C and seem to do well on it.
Oh yes, the biggest thing I noticed and realized is just sustained and consistent energy. Um, just like really, really clean energy. Um, oh, and Ruth added a comment about avocados as a fat source. Love avocados.
Avocados, yeah.
And put it in a blender with a cucumber, amazing super sauce. I'm gonna have to try that one out. I don't think I've mixed those two in a blender before.
Yeah, it's
Mixed
great.
them in salads plenty, but
Yeah,
not blended them up. Thank you, Ruth. I'm gonna have to try that one.
yeah, yeah. Put some lemon in there. I like mixing avocados with some chocolate, some dark chocolate. Make a little shake out of that. It's awesome. All right, so well, let's just kind of recirculate. Today we've covered some very interesting things because, if you think about what the goal is of eating, and the goal there is entertainment food, and then there's food for energy. And I'm saying, we said let's make our enjoyment, better than our effort, greater than our effort. And so, go ahead, Kate.
And I think obviously there's two different sides of it where it's for energy or entertainment. I think in a lot of cases we covered how you can create it so it's both.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, like midday, you're in a rush, and for you, Reagan, you're grabbing a bare bones chicken breast and throwing some greens with it. Some people might not be very entertained by that. I think, like for you, it's definitely getting your energy up. But I
Mm-hmm.
think the entertainment happened when you were going through the experience of cooking it. Like
Yep.
just like we mentioned, like put on some good music, enjoy that process. Um, while you're doing the facilitation of your plan. Because I
Yeah.
think when it gets cumbersome and just a grind, that's when you reach for the less quality foods, a bar or something that's quick, easy, and painless.
Yeah.
So if
And and by the way, at night is when I actually have more of a sit down meal, and we have vegetables, and we have a whole fun I love my evening dinners with my family. I mean, it's just something we go through
oh yeah,
wins, gratitudes. I mean, it's we have our own little ritual that we do. So just so you guys know, Reagan's not just some like crazy guy that's just like, all you got to do is get nutrients all the time. Don't even think about enjoying your food. It's all energy. It's not, because that's how we connect as humans, is through food, right? And so
oh
I
yeah,
just
that's
preferred
best
with
conversations around the dinner table.
absolutely. Yeah, one of the reasons my wife, we've had several people offer to, hey, well, I want to buy your table, and I'm like, no way, because the kitchen table, like, it stores that energy of all those conversations. And so that's a totally different topic. And you guys, we went a little out there, but that I'd like really believe that kitchen table is just such a very cool place where you can really connect in with other humans. So, oh, and Allie says Midway has a farmer's market. And Allie, I found my duck eggs there, Kate. I forgot to tell you, I've been eating duck eggs this week.
Oh,
I love Midway. It's the coolest place. So thank you, Allie. And it's yes, and we got a bunch of produce there. They do have a wonderful assortment of vegetables. So you guys will see me there most Saturdays when I'm in town at the farmers market. But don't buy all the duck eggs, or I'll come to your house and have you cook some for me, because I cooked a bunch of them. So the eggs were one of my big go-to sources this week. I think we cooked like 2 dozen duck eggs and a dozen chickens, so like 36 eggs.
oh man, I can't get them in St. George anymore. I don't know. Maybe well, and they don't do the farmers market in the summer here. It's just too hot.
Yeah, that's yeah, and that's one thing we didn't talk about today was eggs. You can totally prep eggs. They're so easy. And
So did you do hard boiled or did you
oh
do
no,
like you did the waffle eggs and
I
then
did just scrambled. Yeah, the waffles would take too long doing 36 of those bad boys. So I'd be there all day. So we just did the big old scramble. It was awesome. So
well, if you're
anyway,
if you're a smaller family, I know we're cutting off, but if you're a smaller family, Reagan taught me how to do. You get the small waffle iron, put a single egg in it, smashes down. It cooks it perfectly.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's a game changer for me and my kids.
I'm glad we brought up eggs right at the end. So you guys now have all the hacks to really get your game on when it comes to food. There's no more excuses is what we're saying, right? Like let's start eating healthy and enjoy our food at the same time. Remember, make your enjoyment greater than your effort when it comes to food, and it will all, have that gratitude with it, and it will all work out just great for you.
Love it.
Cool.
Thank you so much, Reagan. Thank you guys for joining us this week. We will be back same time, same place next week. Don't forget to get registered for our hack, our health accelerator community. That's go to acueastwest.com/hack. And also for any supplement needs, we mentioned blood sugar today. Energy multiplier would be an amazing supplement for you to try out. Go to thesmartmedicine.com and check that out. Energy multiplier. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Love you. We'll see you next time.
You guys.